I wanted to make this video because I felt that Gauss has much more to offer in terms of interesting gameplay than people might think. I've often heard the notion that Gauss has limited use, comparing him to a fast sports car that you take out on the weekends, but is too impractical to use on a day-to-day basis. He is, in my opinion, both fun to play, as well as effective in endgame content with the playstyle I chose for him. I will go over the parts of his abilities which are important for this playstyle, starting with his passive, and then going in reverse order because my thoughts will make more sense that way and have the most to say about Mach Rush. Gauss's battery affects the performance of his abilities, plus giving him some shield recharge rate and recharge delay reduction based on the amount it has been filled. The battery can be charged in a couple of ways: moving around, casting Mach Rush, hitting enemies with Mach Rush, hitting enemies with your melee while kinetic plating is active, reviving a teammate, and casting the cold effect with Thermal Thunder. The battery can be charged up to 80%, which is at this point, and then for the remaining 20% once Redline is active. Redline increase your fire rate, melee attack speed, this is important, reload speed and holster speed. The amount these are increased by depends on your battery charge and your ability duration, not ability strength as one might think. Redline will add a new percentage counter to your battery UI, going from 0 to 100, which will go up as long as your battery is above the red line. The goal is to get that number to 100, at which point your abilities will no longer drain your battery for the remaining duration of Redline. The growth of this counter scales inversely with your ability duration, so if you take your duration and plug it into this formula, then you will see that you should not care about this feature. Less ability duration would mean that you'd get to that 100% mark faster, but it also means that Redline is gone in 3 seconds, so what's the point? You should still mod your Gauss for maximum duration, because the speed increases will be higher and the time you can benefit from having the redline count at 100% is also greater.
Oh, my shoulder!
Okay, I should probably talk a little more about Thermal Thunder, but I really don't find any use for it in my playstyle. Staying in a room and helping with crowd control seems out of place for a Warframe that's built around staying mobile at all times. Using it to charge your battery also doesn't seem worth it compared to just running around. You might get some use out of the armor stripping effects of the heat and blast status if you mod for it, but the ability pretty much doesn't exist for the way I play Gauss. Kinetic plating is Gauss's secondary layer of defense, his first being his speed, because you're actually harder to hit depending on how fast you go. The plating helps you when you do actually get hit, providing you with a damage reduction against impact, puncture, slash, cold, heat and blast, plus immunity to staggers and knockdown, which is very nice to have. The damage reduction scales with your battery level and the minimum amount is affected by your power strength. Each hit you take on your plating reduces your battery and restores 5% of the damage taken to your energy, similar to Hunter Adrenaline and Rage. Your melee attacks will gain both a 100% damage increase and a 100% chance to stagger enemies, so long as both redline and kinetic plating are active. Now this is where it gets interesting. I've purposefully kept the background gameplay somewhat inaccurate to how I actually play, just for this moment. Gauss's true strength lies as a DPS, because the S in DPS stands for speed. Gauss is fast, but not necessarily in terms of running speed. Don't get me wrong, you can be very quick with the right build. But it's hard to beat instant teleportation and creative mode. Gauss is fast in terms of time to kill. The insane attack speed from Redline, combined with the instant acceleration and deceleration of Mach Rush, makes him excellent for killing a group of enemies and quickly closing the gap to the next one. Mach Rush synergizes so well with your melee weapon, because of the animation cancelling property the ability has, slamming down into a group and cancelling the recovery of the slam, cancelling a part of your melee combo to start a new one, being able to choose between the dash or the rush of Mach Rush, depending on the distance to the next enemy. All these aspects work perfectly with the already great melee system Warframe has. Each different weapon class or even stance mod works slightly different with Gauss's Mach Rush, so you'll probably find one that suits you. But let's go back to covering some of the basic attributes of Mach Rush. The rush speed is affected by sprint speed mods, while the dash distance is not affected by any mods. Your turn speed is greatly reduced during the rush, so recasting the ability to readjust is highly advised. It is not necessary to hold down the ability key during the entire rush. You can keep rushing by holding the forward move key after starting the rush. You can do a single jump while rushing, which is great for avoiding small obstacles. The ways of cancelling the rush are rolling, meleeing, aiming, firing your weapon, using Mach Rush again, or simply stop moving. I have a few more extra tips I couldn't fit into the other sections. If you have a mouse with extra buttons, then you might want to bind the last ability used key to one of them. I find it much easier to spam Mach Rush this way, because you don't have to reach for the ability key and it keeps your fingers on the movement keys. Using a melee weapon with good range and wide swings in the combos works best for clearing groups, but any weapon can still benefit from the movement and attack speed Gauss provides. Turning off the screen shake makes it far easier to understand what's going on in my opinion, but it also removes some of the visual impact your swings have. And that's it. Feel free to leave any criticism or questions you might have in the comment section. Thank you for watching.